Welcome back to Beagle Eye Visions. Welcome back. I'm wearing my newly acquired Acton's Dictums shirt. It's got something on the back, but I'm not going to take this awesome jacket off to show you guys. Welcome back. We have another book review here for you. It's called Blood Fever, a James Bond adventure by Charlie Higson. This is the second book in this series. I love this series. It's one of my favorites. Man, they're amazing. Definitely worth reading. Definitely worth picking up. I was looking on Amazon a couple days ago. You can pick up all the books for like $25, I think, something like that. And also, not to mention, since I had some technical difficulties, I will not be using the soundboard or the mic today. It kind of sucks. I don't know what was going on. I don't know if it's the aux cord or what. But anyways, let's dive into it. I hope you guys have been sticking around, listening, watching the One Great Work Network. They've been doing some amazing things over there. Mark Passio is supposed to be recording right now, but he's not. So we're going to record this book review, and yeah, do it up. So let's get into it. Blood Fever is the second novel in the Young Bond series. With that being said, of course it has a fierce intro to get the reader curious and ready for the action they're about to embark in. Amy Goodenough is one of the luckiest 14-year-olds on the planet, getting to skip school and be with her father on one of his yachts. It's a yacht! I wish I had the soundboard. Shout out to Starsky and Hutch. It's a yacht. No, it's not a boat. It's a yacht. Oh, okay. So, the father, Cahill Goodenough, an order-following coward that joined the Navy at 16 years old, serving under Jellicoe at the Battle of Jutland. The Battle of Jutland is a real-life event that happened in World War I. According to Wikipedia, the battle unfolded in extensive maneuvering and three main engagements from May 31st to June 1st in 1916 off the North Sea coast of Denmark's Jutland Peninsula. It was the largest naval battle and the only full-scale clash of battleships of the war. Jutland was the last major battle fought primarily by battleships. I thought that was a very interesting little fun fact. And of course I looked it up and found out it was a real thing. It was very interesting that he put that in there. After serving Jutland, Mr. Goodenough was made an admiral himself. He was even knighted after his service in the so-called Great War, leaving the Navy after his wife died. It took his wife to die for him to finally leave the Navy. Wow. Amy and Cahill are hanging out on the yacht when an unflagged ship approaches and the captain says they are having engine trouble. The captain's name is Zoltan the Magyar. Magyar, I don't know how to pronounce that. Turns out Zoltan and his crew are after a bronze statue that is practically a priceless piece of art created by Donato di Beto Bardi, named after the character from Greek mythology, the siren, half-woman, half-bird that ate seamen alive. Now we have ourselves a MacGuffin and an enemy. Classic Bond. We got ourselves a classic Bond story here for those of you that love James Bond as much as I do. Amy climbs up into the boat after her swim and stealthily stabs Zoltan in the shoulder, and then looks him in the eye and says, "One day I'll finish the job." Amy is really cool. I think she's a legend. Zoltan is obviously a huge piece of garbage, and he tells the crew to kill the men and take the women. And so we have our intriguing James Bond intro, as just like anybody who's seen the films know that there's always, the intro is like part of the entire story of what is about to unfold. You can always see it in the intro of the Bond movies and the Bond books. It tells you the entire story if you spend a little time and pay attention, if you spend that spiritual currency. So, getting to chapter 2, called Double M. The second chapter, we are back with Bond. It is still the first year he is spending at Eton. Eton, the school in England, the old school in England. The setting is nighttime and he is roaming the school halls ninja style to get to the secret meeting spot with the boys. It is mentioned that James still has the Bamford and Martin and that he had in the last novel, and although he is the youngest in the group, the vehicle gives him a little bit of an edge. The secret spot where Du Bois meet is the club they have established called the Danger Society. The boys have created their own secret society called the Danger Society. Where's the mic at? Dang it! I lost my spot. Oh yeah, I wanted to give a shout out to my man Patrick Danger Quigley, a local legend. Check out the interview I did with Patrick Quigley on the Beagle Eye Vision channel. I'll leave a link in the description. Patrick, I hope you and your family are doing great. Maybe I'll make it out to this upcoming hardcore metal show that's at the Well. Seems very tantalizing, but yet dangerous at the same time. Perry, one of Du Bois, is obviously he's very uptight, and he mentions that his family yacht has gone missing. The secret meeting is cut short because George, one of the boys, one of the lads, he shows up late because he was getting followed, and he had all the boys, so he got followed to the secret meeting spot. He had a tail, and also all the boys, they have to scatter back to their dorms because the search party is roaming the campus. I think the search party is looking for the secret spot, or they hear noise. Who knows what they're searching for? Who knows? So Chapter 3, the 4th of June. Chapter 3 is inevitably filled with a bunch of tense action as James tries to get back to his room. Before reaching the destination, he sees two grizzled men speaking in Latin, followed by a room that appears to be a sacrificial altar of some sort, which after the previous book, Esoteric Hollywood, this scene was it literally gave me chills. After reading the room, that as he describes it, the room is very creepy that he stumbles upon before he gets back to his dorm room. He remembers the search party must be looking for the boys, and he gets back to the room before he gets caught. So chapters 4 and 5, Mark, James's classmate who gets robbed, is in a panic because he got busted the night they were all out on the roof. Mark punched Perry because he knew Perry had access to James's car keys because Perry's a roommate of James. After finding out the family's yacht wreckage was found, destroyed, and appeared to have been exploded, poor Mark is sent into a frenzy. And shout out to Mark from SLC Punk, where I got this shirt from. I love Mark, he's one of my favorite characters. Check out the Hater Hop, man. Go to, I forgot the website, but SLC Punk, you can look it up. They're doing a rerun of all the clothes from SLC Punk. It's really cool. Get yourself a jacket. It's high quality. The jacket was like a little over $100, but for as iconic as this is Bob's jacket. For as iconic as that movie is, and the quality of this jacket, it's really high quality. It's good stuff. Anyways, back to the book. I go off in tangents too much. James' car keys, after finding out the family's wreckage was found, disappeared and exploded. Chapter 5 commences with James and Perry running to the garage to stop Mark, because Mark, he ends up getting the car keys and running. He knows where it's at because it's the secret society. They're all like, you know, they're a close-knit group of dudes. So, the boys get to the garage and discover the vehicle is gone. Mark beat him to the punch. Dang you, Mark. We're too late. Perry shook his head and looked at James. If he had a smash, that's the end of your motor. Perry has a stutter, by the way. Never mind that, said James. If he has a smash, that's the end of him. And this is why I respect James Bond. Although James Bond is obviously an order-following coward with working for England, James. He becomes an order-following coward, but he's not a man of materialism. James Bond has never been a man of materialism. He truly cares about his friend. He's really concerned about him. I think that's part of why I like his character. In the movies, you see tiny, extremely minute windows of his care, especially in that trash No Time to Die. You know, which you see these windows of his care. It just makes him human. You know, it still shows that James Bond underneath the blood and bullets, he still has an aspect of being a human being. James catches up to Mark in the vehicle, and an anxiety-ridden action scene occurs, causing the Bamford and Martin to spin out. out in the middle of a field. As they are driving back to the garage, they get stopped by a beak who then takes custody of Mark. Mark's grandpa is on the way to town to take care of Mark. So Mark is, we find out that Mark is taken care of. He's got a family member coming. James and Du Bois have to take a lesson by a well-renowned professor on the campus, by a guy known by the lads as Love-Hate. He's a very interesting professor. Hate is giving a lesson on Sardinia entitled "In Search of Sardinian Bandits." James's friend and roommate Perry is ecstatic about the lesson because Hate has a way of making the lessons very entertaining. Just like Mark Passio. Mark Passio has a way of making his lessons very entertaining, and he puts a lot of passion into his presentations and his work. We are reminded of how Perry's home, like Mark's, was robbed. Thankfully, nobody at Perry's house was hurt, but Perry's family had a tasteful art collection that was stolen. I speculate that it has something to do with Mark's family, that it's all tied together. Chapter 7. Chapter 7 is a bizarre one. James and the class make it to the desert after what seems like an eternity of traveling, where Love-Hate continues to give lessons about the Sardinians. James gets a letter from Mr. Marriott back at Eton, giving us an intriguing piece of information about the double M logo. Nearing the end of the chapter, Bond gets out of the sun and into the shade of an ancient tower. Bond gets heat stroke, and he has a sort of hallucination that's very reminiscent of the credit scenes in the film. You know, like one of my favorite credit scenes is the Casino Royale, where you see like bullet streaks of like spades. They're like Casino Royale. There's a huge scene and it's all about gambling. So the credit sequence is like he shoots a spade out of the gun and the spade has like a line. It's really cool. That's one of my favorite. R.I.P. to Chris Cornell too, man. Chris Cornell's an absolute legend. Got some W in my cup. I gotta record Crazy Life Stories tonight, so I definitely need some energy to hang out with Matt Bennett. Reminiscent of the credit, yeah, that scene was really cool. This chapter was, it really reminded me of Casino Royale. It was one of my favorites. One of my favorite Bond movies. Casino Royale, that credit scene is amazing. And the song that Chris Cornell does, I can't think of it right now. It's an amazing song. Chris Cornell's a phenomenal 10 out of 10 songwriter. Absolute legend. So, here's a direct quote from the book. He had a sudden horrible image of blood congealing in a bowl and snapped his eyes open. The room was full of people. They were wearing primitive robes and had dark, watchful faces. Some carried glinting knives. He shrank away from them as he felt the stones press into his back. He realized that it was an illusion, and he was merely seeing shapes in the black walls of the chamber. Page 81. Very, very interesting. Very trippy, too. A little bit trippy there. After the sunstroke incident in the desert, in Chapter 8, James gets permission to leave for his cousin's house early, his cousin Victor, deciding he needs to get away from the sterile environment of school so he can actually relax and get some R&R. His cousin Victor's house is at Capo d'Orso, the Cape of the Bear. The house is built alongside a mountain and is filled with fascinating paintings and sculptures. If the room was unusual, what was in it was extraordinary. It was filled with paintings and statues, and odd, incongruous objects. The paintings were unsettling and nightmarish. One gigantic canvas took up almost all of one wall. All of one wall. It showed an octopus floating in the air, crushing various objects in its tentacles. Naked women, an animal that looked like a hairless cow, and a car that seemed somehow fleshy and alive. Page 95. Polypony is the surrealist artist that lives with Victor. He's a very interesting character. Polypony is... Man, he's kind of a weirdo. I'm just gonna say it out loud. I'm just gonna say it. Polypony is a bit of a weirdo. So in chapter 10, titled "You Can't Eat a Picasso," Polypony lays out one of the most bizarre, pseudo-satanic meals I've ever heard of. We even learned that Polipo, we learned that Polipo is Italian for octopus, which makes me think of Spectre. You know, it makes me think of the movies even more. It makes me think of the Spectre movie. Again, the credit sequence in the movie Spectre is all, you know, you guys remember it. I'm sure you've seen it by now. It's got like the octopus. You know, the logo Spectre, like in the octopus in that movie, I believe the octopus shows like crushing women and crushing guns. You know those weird trippy credit scenes. And the house is even shaped like an octopus, and the artist refers to the ink-wielding sea urchin, Jesus, as the food of the gods. That's what he calls octopus. He says it's the food of the gods, and obviously they're eating octopus. It's part of the meal. And then there's an octopus that's laid out on the table. So it's you know, it's a great connection with the Bond films. I love all these connections, and I think that's why the Flemings gave Charlie Higson like their blessing to write these, like gave him permission to write these books, and they reviewed them, and I think they reviewed them and looked over them, and like they approved them, and then they published them, gave him permission to publish them, which I thought that was super cool. At the end of the chapter, Victor confirms he has heard rumors of the Millenaria being present on the island. So we're getting to chapter 11. Chapter 11 is the really cool... Oh no, my thing. See? All the equipment is not working apparently. Which is why this channel needs more money. I don't know who needs to hear this, but this channel, Beagle Eye Visions, need more money. So use code Beagle Eye Vision at w.gg. Get yourself 10% off. Okay, I guess I'm not gonna worry about that. So while chapter 11, we get a really cool underwater scene that reminds me of the Donkey Kong country music for some reason, or swimming in San Andreas and hunting oysters. You know, shout out to them nerds. Shout out to them game nerds. My fellow game nerds. While Bond is enjoying the underwater abyss, he gets hit by a seaplane, just like San Andreas. You know, watch out for them seaplanes, bruh. Disorienting his position in the water, Victor tells Bond that Count Hugo Carnifex has made an appearance. And knowing what I know about the band known as Carnifex, epic band by the way, this is not a good sign after we just find out that the Millenaria are in fact present on the island. So to be honest, up to this point, the book has really been kind of slow, but this is when things start picking up. Of course, when Carnifex shows up, am I right? If you remember the last book review I did on the previous Bond book, I read an excerpt from the book Esoteric Hollywood by Jay Dyer. Count Carnifex has an interesting job that ties him into the James Bond lore. Carnifex makes his money from the mining industry, which is what I mentioned in that excerpt by Jay Dyer. He makes his money from the mining industry, and he's got to be one of the creepiest villains out of all these books. Yeah, that's a fact. I think, I mean, I'm going to reread all these books for the YouTube channel, but off the top of my head, yeah, I believe he's the creepiest. There's a guy in the next book that's also pretty creepy. There's a group of twins that remind me of Baron Samedi from Live and Let Die. And yeah, yeah. So anyway, he's very creepy, and he also he has a strange obsession with his sister, just like it reminded me of Leonardo DiCaprio in Django Unchained, like how he's like just literally just completely obsessed with his sister. It's really weird. It's kind of like it's uncomfortable. It really is. It makes you uncomfortable with like how familiar he is with his sister. So Bond describes the Count as being so pale, Count Carnifex, being so pale that he can see the blue veins under Hugo's skin. Creepy. Carnifex has classic villain lines such as, Napoleon was a great man. He understood that fame is the most important thing to be immortal. These Bond villains, man. And he also says, These are direct quotes, by the way. "We soon become forgotten unless we could do something tremendously good or tremendously bad. It does not matter which." Page 126. You know, these villains never have any moral foundation, really. I'm just gonna say it. Like, I don't care if I sound like a broken record. None of these Bond villains ever have any morals. They just wanna slaughter everybody in their way and conquer, you know, get all the gold and riches and wealth and destroy the world. It doesn't make any sense. Like, even if any of these villains, like, did succeed, like, they would be on, you know, "Victory is a lonely war," like what the Chariot said. Shout out to the Chariot. Well, anyways, I'm glad James Bond is a legend and none of their dreams ever come to fruition, which makes me laugh. Zoltan is planning on taking Amy Goodenough to Carnifex to sell some stolen goods. A hilarious scene ensues where a drunken soldier, oh yeah, this is funny, he starts harassing Amy, and of course Amy, being the legend that she is, she stands up for herself, which she reminds me of the character in the Barcode series that I did a book review on. The character of Kayla from the Barcode series. Kayla is an absolute legend too, just like Amy. She stands up for herself and she pushes the drunken soldier out of the back of the truck. It was so awesome. The order following coward gets up offended. He starts cussing. He's like, in another language, in Italian I think it is, or Sardinian. He starts cussing at Amy. He even stands up to Zoltan, because Zoltan is like, he's like, "This is my prisoner, this is my prize, nobody's gonna touch my prisoner and my prize." And he, the soldier nearly loses his life to Zoltan because he stood up to him. Which still, it was hilarious. I mean, this order following soldier had no idea. He's being a jerk. He was being a bad dude. He was being annoying. He was being a nuisance. So anyways, going over to the halfway mark. Oh, here we go. The Bluetooth speaker died or something, so I don't know what's going on. But spoiler dance. I'm gonna do spoiler dance. Spoiler dance. Alright, before YouTube slaps me with another copyright, better stop that music. So, huge spoilers ahead. If you have not read this book, I highly recommend it. It is so underrated. I mean, every single one of these Young Bond series, this is book, like I said, this is book 2. Every single one of these Young Bond books is definitely worth the read. I mean, you can read it in a day. I mean, if you're an avid reader like me, you could read it on a day off. Today's my day off. I got Sunday off. You can read it in a day, no problem. As long as, like, maybe go to a library, go somewhere quiet. You know, it's tough to read when you got a lot of distractions. It has to be really quiet. Like sometimes I always get frustrated trying to read and there's like a lot of noises going on. Anyways, amazing. I love these series of books. Is 10 out of 10. Definitely worth it. Even if you can get this book, like I found this copy at Goodwill. So I spent like what, $2 on this. I just got lucky and happened to find it at Goodwill. And this is like the Disney version, the Disney cover, because Disney used to publish these books and then they got bought out by a new publisher. I think Puffnam bought them out. But anyways, see, I'm going on another tangent. Buy this book, buy all these books, they're amazing. So James manages to make friends with Victor's servant, and Victor's servant is named Morrow. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Morrow helps James after getting injured by swimming in the ocean. I'm not going to say how James get injured. I'm trying to, excuse me, I had Taco Bell earlier. I'm trying to leave some intrigue, right? I'm trying to tell you guys a good portion of the story, but I'm also trying to whet your appetite so you're like, man, I want to. Hopefully you guys in the audience are like, man, I really kind of want to go read this book now. I want to go buy this book. Hopefully. So he gets injured by swimming in the ocean. I'm not going to say how he gets injured, but yeah, he gets injured and Morrow ends up helping him out. When the atmosphere settles and the tension is gone, of course, just in typical James Bond action adventure fashion, as soon as things settle down, the action picks right back up, and a bunch of bandits enter the villa with rifles, automatic rifles, and they enter Victor's home. So because Polly Pony had convinced Victor to go to the carnival, leaving James and Morrow at the villa. So these bandits come in, they injure everybody in the house, they take every piece of art that isn't nailed down, and even injure every person in the house, like I just said. Even tying up that poor female servant in the bedroom, and they threw her on the bed. Hopefully they didn't do anything else. Bond and Morrow get in the vehicle and book it back to the carnival to inform Victor of what happened. So our lads happen to run into the great Zoltan at the carnival, and James Bond asks Zoltan how his arm was injured, and replies to Bond that he had a tussle with a mermaid, and goes off on a Zoltan goes off on a tirade about how mermaids are dangerous creatures, which made me think of, for some reason it made me think of the Medusas in Titan Quest. I really need to get my PS4 fixed so I can grind some more Titan Quest. The Medusas in Titan Quest are a force to be reckoned with. They are no joke. They will turn you to stone so fast. Yeah, shout out to Titan Quest. So Victor decides to leave the carnival to check on the villa, and Bond goes with his school group. Love-Hate took the boys to the carnival, and James gets permission to stay with them until things blow over and settles down again. I have to say, Victor, excuse my language, but Victor is an absolute badass. He's a badass character. He's completely intelligent. He's got a very good head on his shoulders. He seems like he knows the difference between right and wrong. It seems like he has a moral foundation, unlike Zoltan or Carnifex or any of the other ridiculous James Bond villains that you see in the movies. So I'm going to close out on a quote from Victor, because like I said, I'm going to stop there. My notes stop there. I'm not going to go any farther. Well, I got to say the quote first. Yeah, like I said, I wanted to leave you guys with some intrigue, and hopefully you guys buy this book, because it's amazing. It's very entertaining. This is very fun to do. I wish I could have wrote more notes, but I started working. I've been super tired. I work weekends. I work Friday and Saturday. I'm still super sore and tired. I feel like I could sleep all day. But anyways, so here's a quote from Victor to wrap it up, and then I'm gonna plug an event, because May the 4th be with you. It's gonna be an amazing event coming, and if you're in the northern Indiana area, I myself, Dead and On Sarah, is gonna be opening up a show, but I will get to that. Let me say this quote from the very legendary Victor character. Yugo wants to show off, but he has nothing to show off about. I have seen many silver mines in my time, Polly Pony. I understand rocks. There is no silver here. There never was. He is an actor playing at being an emperor. Come, we are going. Goodbye, James. Page 176, quote from Victor. Like I said, if you want to learn more about Victor, read the book. Victor is an absolute legend. James Bond is an absolute legend, despite the fact that he's an order-following coward, and then they just literally killed him off in the new movie. So again, spoiler alerts for the new James Bond movie if nobody's seen it. Yeah, they wipe him out, and it made me so mad. I left the movie theater so mad that day when I went to go see No Time to Die. And then the title is so stupid, No Time to Die, and then they literally kill my man's off. It's horrible. It's horrible. So anyways, if you're in the northern Indiana area, thank you if you made it this far. If you're in the northern Indiana area, May the 4th be with you. There's a Star Wars punk rock show. Costumes are encouraged. Dress up as a stormtrooper, dress up as Princess Leia. We don't care. It's encouraged. Come on down to Michiana Education and Arts Club. I will be opening up the show, like I said. I'll be playing the songs I usually always play all the time at all the shows. I'm going to keep playing these shows until either I record them or people start showing up to the shows and singing along to where I don't even hear my own voice. I want people to sing along with these lyrics, but people don't even sing along at shows anymore. It's so weird. It's so weird. When I saw Acton's Dictums this past weekend, it was a couple weeks ago now, I sang along. I knew every song they played. I was dang near about to steal the mic from dude. And speaking of Acton's Dictums, check out the interview. Check out the interview that I did with the Acton's Dictums. It was hilarious. I had to put the 18 and up on it because we were cussing a lot. We were pretty inebriated. That I'm not gonna lie. We got pretty self-indulgent at that show. But anyways, so another tangent. Dead and None Sarah, May the 4th. Saturday, I believe it's Saturday. Well, anyways, whatever May the 4th is, Michiana Education and Arts Club. Here's the address. 1165 Edwardsburg Avenue, Elkhart, Indiana, 46514. Doors open at 5 p.m. Music starts at 6 p.m. We will be live streaming because MEAC is the best venue in town. The only venue that live streams their events. Go to twitch.com/MEAC574. If you can't make it to the show, you can still support all the bands by going to twitch.com/MEAC574. Live stream, sit at home from your couch, watch the entire show, support local bands, support the underground. Dead and None Sarah will be opening up the show. Jess and the Hog Brothers all the way from Texas. I'm very excited to open up for these guys. Very excited to open up for the very legendary Squared Off. They've been a band since 1996. They've been in the music scene for decades. And then, of course, the world's greatest wrestling-themed punk rock band, the Foleys, South Bend's very own, the Foleys, are going to be playing the show. Here's the flyer. I don't know if it'll focus. But here's the flyer. You can find it on Facebook. Find it on MEAC, Michiana Education and Arts Club, on Facebook. Like I said, thanks again if you made it this far. The next book is going to be The Art of War, because I know a lot of you who play Fortnite, who play Apex, who play all these battle royales, you guys need to study The Art of War, because I'm tired of playing with you. You guys run and rush squads, you solo rush squads of 4 by yourself, and I'm sick of it. Y'all need to read The Art of War, so I'm going to do a book review of The Art of War next, and I know these millennials desperately need to understand The Art of War. So, thank you again. If you made it this far, I'm going to come around, shut the camera off, put some W in your cup, use code BeagleEyeVision, 10% off. Thanks again. Peace out. Look out for the next book review, The Art of War by Sun Tzu. The Art of War. Oh yeah!